So Markelle Fultz.
Yeah.
Cannot believe that.
Markelle Fultz traded to the Magic, and if you're Orlando, I mean, it's like it's no risk, high reward. And if he doesn't work out, he's on a rookie scale deal, and you unload him. And
he can't shoot, Neil.
Yeah, I know that. But if you're Orlando, you're not the one that drafted him, and you didn't trade much for him. So
yeah,
why?
Well. A few things I want to talk about. I mentioned earlier Kevin Durant is a jackleg. I want to talk about him crying about how he doesn't want to. What was that?
I don't know. I couldn't hear you for a second there.
Oh, I know what it is.
I am dark.
Sorry about that. That would be really weird if you were watching this stream. It's because I still had it going on my computer. So the actual stream's just a little bit behind what we're actually talking about at this very second, Neil.
Okay.
So Kevin Durant's an asshole. It's almost soccer mom season. I want to talk about that because we just kind of barely touched on that as we were outroing last time.
Yeah, you're more excited about that than I am.
I'm real fired up. I'm not going to lie about it. I had a friend of mine die the other day. One of my college friends, her name was Laura. And I've been more bummed out about it than I thought I would be because I wasn't real tight with her. I haven't been since college, but I don't know. I just want to talk through that a little bit since I don't have a therapist anymore.
I'll be your therapist today.
Yeah, let's do that. I also want to mention that beer is incompatible with me trying to keep my weight really low where it's been, where I want it to be. Like, you just can't hardly do that. You just can't go out and drink beer.
Well, yeah. I think you have to have beer is one of those things from a weight standpoint that has to be consumed with total moderation. Otherwise, yeah, you'll get puffy.
You'll get puffy.
You get puffy. There's no question about it. Because I love beer, but I'll stop usually after one beer and switch to something else. I'll allow myself the enjoyment of a beer, but if I get into 2, 3, 4 beers, I'm just putting pounds on.
Right? I know. I mean, for me, it's more like 5. But so, like last night, I had a little experiment where I was going to get pounded on just the liquor.
Oh, I was going to say congratulations.
Well, you do what you can do. But I started off with the Cat Head Honeysuckle, and it got me good and lit. And then no beer last night.
Really?
I was just drinking Cat Head Honeysuckle and then the brown water, and no change in weight. So that is definitely the preferable path now. I also want to talk about Drew McGarry a little bit, which I think you said you didn't really know him, right? Or you don't pay attention to him as much?
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever really paid a lot of attention to it. I'm familiar with who he is, and I remember now vaguely the story because he was in a hospital in New York for a while.
For a while.
Around Christmas.
And he does nothing but write about himself and all the shit that goes on in his life, and then he has not spoken a word about this. I find that odd. I do want to talk about National Signing Day. Ole Miss snatched Ladarius Cox out from under Auburn. We had him on Auburn flip watch for like a year, and Ole Miss snuck in there and snatched him right out, man.
He flipped.
He did flip indeed. We were right about that. Just didn't think he was going to Ole Miss.
I was the guy. They say, "No, where's he from?" And someone goes, "Mobile." I'm like, "Oh, really? How'd that happen?" I just thank God for Russell.
George Pickens, I don't know. You don't know who that is, but he's a 5-star wide receiver that Auburn lost. He had been committed for 550 days and lost him on signing day.
550, where you were going with that.
What now?
You said 550. I was really expecting the next word out of your mouth not to be days. I thought you were going to say 1,000.
Oh. Auburn kids got on the internet, and they were not very subtle with the things that they said after that went down. One of Auburn's receivers said, he just tweeted and said, "Just know we know."
Let me tell you this.
Wow.
I want to be careful about how we do it, but I do want to talk about there's a lot of rumors that inflation really played a role in
inflation.
Like kids got the price of, as my mother used to say, the price of tea in China went up this year.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like you couldn't get what you used to be able to get for that price.
Well,
First person criticizes you. They're talking about how low tech the mics look.
They're not talking about me. Talking about you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I have a mic stand that's like yours, but I don't like using it.
Oh, I don't like using it.
I really don't. I like the flexibility of being able to like chill and stuff.
He loves flexibility. Okay. We'll just go ahead and start the show, Neil. If that's what else? What have you got? Anything else you want to talk about? Peloton?
We can talk about the Peloton. They've added a lot of stuff to Peloton.
Yes, Slapbanger 69's got so many different avenues now to meet the girls. Gotcha.
Yeah.
This is because of the Peloton treadmill and stuff, or what?
Well, they have the Peloton tread. They have Peloton yoga, and they now have that digital stuff that you can stream like on your TV or whatever.
There's no Peloton yoga.
I swear to God.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
Oh my God. You have to get on that. That's where all the hot girls are going to be.
But you won't be able to see them. You can
Why not?
Because that's not. See, you're not doing the proper level of research on.
There's going to be cameras like this camera right here, right? There's a camera on your bike, and so the chicks can see that it's you. No,
no, they can't see me.
Oh, that's disappointing.
All I can see is the instructor.
Yeah, and of course she's hot, but I mean that's an instructor.
Usually that's worth it. Yeah.
She's just sweaty and has boobies, right? I mean that's pretty much it. No.
Yeah, I mean, well, you get all the angles, so you pretty much see all the different angles that you might want to see in the course.
What if you're like really looking for ankles? Do you see those?
Yeah, you would see some ankle.
Would you see like that graduated area from like tight ankle to big calf? Would you see that?
Yeah, you would see that. Usually, yeah, you would see that from multiple angles.
All right. I'm intrigued. I think I could put a Peloton in this room. I got some room over here, I think.
You would enjoy a Peloton.
I don't know if Courtney would be good with that or not. All right, you want to start the show, bro?
Yeah, we can start the show. Let's see. I got to pull up.
No, take your time.
Got to get some stuff ready. I was preparing analytics today.
I do want to give our first live shout out to Charger Rebel for giving you hell on the show right away. We have this streaming on Rebel Grove.
What's he saying?
He said, I always forget how low-tech y'all's stuff is with a handheld mic, and I am laughing because it's true. But he likes the freedom that comes with being able to hold the mic in his hand.
I do. I like that a lot.
Grizzly Reb 89 says, dig this. Thank you for watching. And I got some really good tips on my plantar fasciitis from your site last couple, I think 2 weeks ago is when I mentioned it. Gave me some really good tips on how to keep my foot, put some ice on it, roll the ice. I froze we'll talk about it on the show.
Oh, yeah. Avery gave you that suggestion.
Who's Avery?
She's one of our subscribers.
Oh, well, thanks, Avery. You're the best.
Yeah.
The shit actually worked.
She's a yoga instructor. No joke.
Is she on the Peloton network?
She is on Peloton.
All right.
She is.
All right.
Shout out to our top markets.
Oh, yes, our top markets, which begin with Atlanta, GA.
Atlanta's number 1. Oxford, Jackson, Houston, Texas, Birmingham. I was kind of shocked with market number 6. Did you see that?
Nashville?
Cleveland, Ohio.
No kidding.
We're big in Cleveland.
Yeah, I saw where Montgomery was like 14th. Where are my Gump people at, yo? My little village, you'd think there'd be more than that.
Memphis, Dallas, Hattiesburg, Gulfport, St. Louis, Nashville, New Orleans, Chicago.
Where's big. Como?
Como's not in there. Cape Girardeau's
so.
21. Kansas City, 16. We're getting big. We're getting big in Missouri.
I guess Gabe's not carrying Central Missouri the way that we thought he was.
He's not taking care of business the way you and I are. Sure, huh? Well,
Chase Parham has jumped in.
Oh yeah.
Says you have stands and hanging holders. He refuses to use them. He's admitted that.
I have to raise the. It's a lot of work. I don't really want to do that right now.
That's weak.
Let's see. Candidate talking points. All right, I'm ready whenever you are, Jay.
I'm ready.
All right. For your recording purposes, I'll do the countdown. 3, 2. Welcome into the greatest pod in the South, presented by Cathead Distillery. I'm Neil McCready in Oxford, Mississippi. J.G. Tate is in Montgomery, Alabama. We'll be with you for the next typically about an hour and 10 minutes or so, maybe a little less than that, maybe a little more. Who knows? It's NBA trade deadline day, and Anthony Davis did not get traded. That will be one of a gazillion topics that we will somehow touch on at some point over the course of the day. First, let me tell you about Cathead. We are sponsored and presented by Cathead Distillery. Cathead Distillery is Mississippi's original distillery. It's located in Jackson, Mississippi. They make Cathead vodka, Cathead honeysuckle vodka, Cathead pecan vodka, Bristow gin, Hoodoo chicory liqueur, and Old Soul bourbon. It's kind of warming up today. It's supposed to get cold tomorrow and then warm back up. So it's almost baseball season. One Chase Parham's been writing a lot of baseball stuff. So the college baseball season right around the corner, which means it's a perfect time to get ready for honeysuckle lemonade. It's delicious. It's refreshing. You fix a batch of honeysuckle lemonade for your barbecue, a crawfish boil. It's that time of year again. Baseball game. It's really simple. You can do it equal parts honeysuckle, vodka, and lemonade, or you can make yourself happy by changing that ratio however the hell it pleases you. Whatever you want to do, go for it. It's free country. Also, try the Honeysuckle Mule cocktail made with Cathead honeysuckle, ginger beer. I made a, what was it called? A rail car?
Rail car.
Yeah, it was good, man. With the hoodoo chicory liqueur.
Yeah.
About 3/4 ounces of that, 2 ounces of rye. I used about a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup and some Angostura bitters. I stirred rather than shake, and then strained, and got the little orange peel and lit it to express the oils.
Oh my God.
It's fantastic.
This is unbelievable. I can't believe you actually would say this stuff out in public like this.
I'll tell you what. Next time you come over,
Oh my God.
next time I'm there, I will make it for you. You will not make fun any longer.
I'm embarrassed for you.
You'll be like, this is great.
I'm embarrassed for you.
It is. I'm gonna tell you this, Jay. You could take that out on the soccer field to some of the soccer moms, and I promise you, they would be so impressed with you. They would be so pleased with the cocktail.
The girls that I like the best, they're the ones that they grab a whole of the Maker's Mark bottle and just down it.
Just down it, huh?
The kind of girls that I've hung out with in my life, that's what they do.
We'll tell you more about Cathead a little later in the show. CatheadDistillery.com, CatheadVodka.com. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all of that stuff. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call the number, ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what new Ford you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's so simple. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle, no haggle. It's just easy. You get your deal, you get your quote, and you can shop it around. At the very least, you get a quote. You make sure nobody else is trying to screw you over. You end up coming back to Clark Ford, I bet, and get in touch with Corey about delivery options, all that kind of stuff. And at the end of your deal, tell Corey that you heard about Clark Ford on the Greatest Pod in the South, and you'll save $500 off the already great bottom line. Clark Ford and Amory, 662-257-1900.
They take the mystery out of buying cars because you know what you want and you tell Corey, and that's it. He handles it from that point forward.
That's the deal.
Yeah. And, we grew up, your mom and your dad or whoever was the captain of your ship and your family when you were young. For me, it was both. It was co-captaincy. They made it a big deal. Like, we got to go to the car lot and we got to haggle with these people. And I was always like, what's the point? Because I was 10 or whatever. Why don't you just pay the price like you do a gallon of milk? And my dad's like, nah, it's just part of the game or whatever. And I always thought, that's really stupid. I don't want to do that. And so with Corey Clark, you don't have to do that.
No, he gives you a bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
For him,
prices are really good.
It's efficient because he deals with you quickly, moves on to the next person.
But he would stay with you as long as you needed.
Well, of course, for service and all that stuff. But I mean, he doesn't do the deal where you waste 5 hours of your day haggling back and forth, and the guy or the woman leaves to go to another dealership, and you spent half your day on a unsuccessful sale.
Hey, I kept my credential from the Ole Miss game. I was going to show the folks on the live stream that we're streaming right now on the Twitter.
God,
I keep certain credentials. Eventually, I'm going to make a big collage or something. I don't know. It's a nice trip. I got to meet Ross Bjork.
Yeah.
The athletic director at Ole Miss. It was very nice.
Yeah.
He probably gave me more information than Auburn's AD's given me to this point. Hey, now. Anyway, I was looking at you're right about the temperature is going to drop a little bit here.
Yes, the high tomorrow here is 40.
Yeah, we got like 50 over this way. But it's going to be like 81 today, so I was hoping to finish the show, get outside, play a little soccer.
Oh, it's about to rain here.
Hurry it up, man. Jeez.
So you had basketball last night, right?
No doubt. Did I? No, it was 2 nights ago.
Two nights ago.
Tuesday night, yeah. The Auburn Tigers played host to the Florida Gators.
Florida's not a very good basketball team.
Well, they beat Ole Miss, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, Ole Miss. That's going to be a game that if Ole Miss doesn't make the tournament, they're going to look back and say that was the one that one of the ones that really got away.
Some weird shots in that. A very low percentage shots went down in that game for Florida. I remember that.
Yeah, you're up 3 with 8.8 to go, and they make a bucket. That those are the kind of losses that hurt.
I think Ole Miss is good. I think Auburn's good. I think they're both going to be. I mean, they're cut below Tennessee, and it's still to be determined exactly how good Kentucky is and how good LSU is. But I think Ole Miss and Auburn are right there in that next group, and they'll get in the NCAAs. I think in both cases.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. The last 2 weeks, Kentucky's been as good as anybody in the country. They've played, at a really high level. They play Tennessee. I think it's next Saturday. That's going to be a big game.
It's your showdown. Dude, Auburn had them, too. In Auburn Arena, they lost by 2, and they let Tyler Hero get away from them there in the last 90 seconds or something. That was the difference in that game. But Auburn played really well, particularly the second half, and for most of the second half anyway, and probably should have won that one. They didn't, but they should have. So anyway, Auburn, same old story. At least they're fairly decent now. For like 10 years, they were the worst team ever.
So yesterday, this might be the place to go here. Yesterday was the late signing period. It used to be the big whole shooting match signing period, and now it's not. Now it's the big signing period's in December, and yesterday's sort of the finish it up signing period, sort of like a closer. You know what I mean? It's just ninth inning. Yeah, they're complimenting your setup. You've got your studio set up for this. This is something else we're going to talk about in a minute. This is absolutely not what we're doing right here necessarily, but the streaming interactive component is absolutely the future of what we do. To answer Courtney's question about how different our jobs are going to be in 5 years.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show last week, I think, right?
Yeah. So we'll probably touch on it again. But what I was going to say about signing day was it's nowhere near as big of a thing as it used to be. It's still really big. It still impacts fan mood as much as anything that happens in a calendar year. It has as much impact on just morale and stuff like that as anything. But, and I'm trying to be careful how I do this. We're now being recorded and someone can parse your words and spin it and maybe get you fired. If you listen to people who follow recruiting closely and realistically, my mother used to have this expression. I'm sure my mother's still alive, thank God, but I haven't heard her say this in a while. She would say, "What does that have to do with the price of tea in China?" And the price of tea in China went up this year in recruiting precipitously, if you listen to people who know.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. I do.
The price of the elite prospect. I'm not talking about the normal kid who ends up wherever, but the price of the elite prospect went up significantly.
Seems that way.
Is that what you were hearing as well?
Not necessarily what I was hearing. But you just kind of put 2 and 2 together, and you see guys switching sides. And this, I'm not talking about Ladarius Cox. I'm not. I'm talking about bigger game than that. I mean, Auburn had a kid, number 1 wide receiver, committed for 500-plus days, and he flipped on signing day to University of Georgia. And, immediately a few Auburn players took to Twitter. And you know how it is on Twitter. You never know exactly what they're saying. It could be a rap lyric. It could be a reference to the food they had for breakfast. You never know. But one wide receiver said, "Just know we know." That's an Auburn wide receiver just said that. And then one of the defensive tackles from Birmingham was less nebulous with his criticism. Yeah.
What did he say?
I don't remember exactly, but it was more about money and situations getting expensive. something like that. And then that tweet came down, but then he came back and was like, I meant what I said, or something like that.
someone told him, hey, man, you need to take that down. And he's like, all right, a minute. Yeah, the kids know.
The kids know.
The kids absolutely know.
I mean, a kid that's been committed to Auburn for 500 days. I mean, heck, half the team grew up with this kid. I mean, he's been committed that long.
And I don't knock the kid for getting, hey, get what you can get. Man. Get what you get, whatever. But nobody's fooling anybody here. I mean, there are certain programs that are recruiting at ridiculously high levels where, let's just say that the buy-in is really strong inside that program.
Yeah. I remember Andy Kennedy said something like that in a press conference over here at Auburn a couple years ago. He's like, here in the great state of Alabama where cash is king or something like that. I was like, what? And then I asked him about it when he was he's a commentator now. He was at Auburn Arena. And I asked him about it. He just looked at me and goes, come on, man.
Yeah, it's I don't want to get.
I heard him on the show on the Mississippi State LSU game last night, Andy Kennedy.
He was terrific.
Yeah, he's doing his best Tony Romo. Like, he's trying to call out plays, and he's actually fairly close. Like,
he is. He's like that play that LSU ran kind of late in the game. He sort of guided you through that as it was happening.
He's good, man. I mean, you said he's going to be great, and he is. He's great.
He's going to be one of these fascinating guys to talk about. We're doing the jump around thing. He's going to be one of the fascinating people because I don't think he would mind me saying this. There's no doubt that he misses the grind, the day-to-day grind of being a coach, the film and the practice and the prep and the recruiting and just the action that comes with being a coach. And yet, and he's in Birmingham, and it's no secret he played at UAB. There's a real chance UAB is going to have a vacancy. Be an easy job for him to take right now if he wanted to, and yet he is really, really good at television.
Yeah, it'd be tough. I mean, UAB is going to pay money. I don't think he's making a ton with the SEC network, although if he sticks with it, he's going to make good money, really good money.
Well, I mean, it might be that deal where he'd get some leverage. I don't know. Tom Crean was great on television.
Tom Crean's ass. I don't care about him.
But he was really good on TV.
No, he's not. He was not as good as Andy Kennedy.
No, he's not as good as Kennedy. I think Kennedy has a chance to be one of those, like, calling the Final Four kind of guys. I mean, funny and stuff. But I sense that he really misses coaching.
I don't know if he's that good though. To guys like me and you,
this is year one for him.
I know, but for me and you, he has a dry delivery. He's kind of a matter of fact dude. And I love that about him. Love it about him, and you do too, because we like people like that. But I don't know as though, like, for instance, my wife would find his overly technical descriptions of what's going on in the game particularly engaging. I don't know. My wife seemed kind of ho-hum about it because I was like, isn't this guy, because she was watching the LSU Mississippi State game with me because she likes basketball. And I was like, isn't this guy awesome? And she was like, no, I hadn't really noticed. I was like, yeah.
What do you think people like about Romo, though? Because everyone loves Romo as a broadcaster. I think he's terrific.
I don't know as though the girls – I'm just not an NFL guy, so I can't really tell you. My wife doesn't watch that, so I don't get her input on that. But I know he did a terrific job. I love the technical stuff. There's people out there who do, but, for decades it's always been stories about dudes like, this kid, he and his wife had a baby last week, and it's great. And everybody's like, oh, isn't that great? But then, Tony Romo was like, okay, they're going to be running a four-step dig here, And for people who are into the technical side of football, he's a godsend. But I don't know as though he doesn't fit into that regular, like, basic narrative, We're going to tell fluffy stories about who made a bunch of money and who's helping kids, Yeah,
but I watched the game. I want to know what's going on in the game, and I want you to give it to me in layman's terms.
Well, Tony Romo's really good at that, isn't he?
He's phenomenal. Tony Romo guided you. The Super Bowl was a boring game. I don't know how much you watched. It was a boring game. There wasn't a lot of scoring. There wasn't a lot of excitement. And yet Romo kind of was still the guy that was, while acknowledging that, hey, this probably isn't what you all were dialed in for. Here's what's going on. And I sort of understood at least why it was boring, why nobody was scoring.
Yeah, I was drinking a little bit during the Super Bowl, honestly. So I didn't hear much of him. But he's good. And those of you who are too young to know John Madden outside of the name of the game, the video game, there was this great, he was an NFL coach, and then he became a broadcaster. He probably, he retired 15 years ago, 12 years ago.
Did he retire after he won the Super Bowl, or did he coach a little longer?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you that he was a phenomenal broadcaster. He will definitely be known more for broadcasting and the video game. And I thought he was the gold standard, and I think Tony Romo has a chance to go above that. So that'd be huge. Let's see. Before the show gets started, Neil, I got a few other things I want to talk about. This warm weather reminds me that it's almost soccer mom season out there. That means that my daughter, who plays striker and attacking mid for the Lamp Golden Tigers, yeah, that's the name of her high school is Lamp.
Lamp?
Yeah, they're going to be opening at Enterprise next week, which means it's actually time to see some soccer moms in their native environment. And I'm pretty fired up about it. Neil, your son plays soccer. Tell me how you feel about it.
About soccer moms?
Yes, sir.
I can honestly tell you, Jay, that
Here we go.
I don't know that I pay a whole hell of a lot of attention to the soccer.
I like Peloton, man.
You know, I don't know that frankly there are too many soccer moms that like do it for me the way that they do it for you.
I don't understand what you mean that they don't do it for you. You don't appreciate like a soccer mom just to say hey or whatever else you would do.
I mean, I'll speak and stuff, but I'm not scoping the pitch, if you will, for who's the hottie on the. I don't know. That's not my thing.
You just sit around and watch TV and base your expectations of appearance on things you see on TV, because I'm here to tell you that's an unrealistic burden that you're putting on people, and that's not what real quality American women look like.
You sound like my like high school youth group.
The objectification of women is something I'm down with.
You do not need to be looking at these girly magazines. You are creating expectations that you will not catch in the wild. And frankly, there is some truth to that.
Soccer moms in the wild are the best, though. And
what do you look for in a soccer mom, Jay? I mean, what is it that makes you appreciate a soccer mom?
I just really like the different forms they come in, and I like the intensity. I like the enthusiasm, particularly the ones that get mad or heated about a yellow card or a foul call. The ones that will get out of their seat and come down to the sideline and scream at an official. Like, that's my kind of girl.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. I like a girl that, I don't know, the bigger the legs, the better.
Really?
And, oh, yeah. And, you know, I love some dyed hair since I have it myself, as you can see here under my cat head hat. So, yeah, that's what I'm
more into, like, are you more excited when your daughter's team plays in a pretty rural environment where maybe she's out in the country a little bit?
Well, I'm certainly going to happen when they're playing the Enterprise next week. But no, I like it at home usually because I feel like I know my limits. I know what I can say. The refs that are in Montgomery, I know a good portion of them.
Yeah.
Just from youth soccer and then playing a little bit with them through the years. So I know my limits and what I can say and what I can't say to those particular guys. Like, if there's a couple of them that have gotten divorced, and if I bring up the first wife and how she cheated on him, that would probably be a little too far. But other people, you can do that. So, you know, it just depends. Look, man, if you give my daughter a yellow card for pulling on a ponytail and she didn't actually inflict any harm, okay, I'm going to give you hell. That's wrong.
I was going to ask you, have you ever gotten so upset at one of your kids' soccer games that you almost got kicked out?
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, I'm not lately. It was indoor, and she was like 10. Yeah, we were playing a team. I'll tell you a quick story, though. We're playing a team that our coach believed in rotating the players. So you would have, you know, let's say we had a handful of good players, my daughter included, obviously. You would rotate them. Maybe Maddie would play keeper or defensive back or whatever. But there was another team in the league that they just played their best players forward all year. They never gave their regular players a chance to play. So when it was time for us to play the championship game, our players had gotten better because our bad players had a chance to play up and play up front and do different things and get better at soccer, whereas their players were stagnant from a developmental standpoint. And we beat that ass. And I was counting off goals because we won like 8-4 or something like that. And every time we scored, I was doing like this is years ago. I was doing like the push down the, you know, they used to do like Gary Payton used to do, like push down the floor or push down the ceiling. I was counting off goals. And that was really obnoxious. And some of the parents from the other team said I was being disrespectful to the kids. But I was like, I'm not disrespecting the kids. I'm disrespecting the coach. And then she said, that's my husband. And I was like, oh, boy, I'm out. I just sat down. And then she came over to me and started wagging her finger in my face. And Courtney goes, you shut up. I'll handle this. And it got handled.
What happened?
I don't want to get into a confrontation with a, soccer mom. Like, first of all, I love soccer moms. I don't want to get in a fight.
Right. But You don't mind if Courtney gets in a fight.
Courtney said, "You're not going to wag your finger in my husband's face. Now, let's back that off right now, and then let's go talk about this over here."
Now, how did you feel about your wife having to handle your fights?
Well, if it was a guy, that wouldn't happen. But with a gal, you got to be a little careful, and I don't want to cause a scene. It's bad. There's no money involved. There's no contracts being doled out here, and we're at a YMCA facility. There's no reason to get real hairy about it. And if I'm going to engage her, which I didn't really want to do, I mean, it's going to get bad. So let's just let the ladies handle it. And sure enough, they got it worked out, and I just kind of left quietly. And
did they?
Yeah.
Did it get physical?
No. Of course not. Courtney's not going to get physical. I mean, if she had to, she'd probably whoop that girl's ass. But I'm just saying, that didn't happen. And the weird thing is that this girl, I didn't know who she was. She's the mother of a guy that my daughter's friends with. Like, he's still kind of in her world. And so I come across this woman every now and then. I just pretend like it never happened. Just like in The Hangover, where he's like, forget about it, man. We've all done a bunch of dumb shit.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, whatever.
I've gotten worked up at a couple of Carson soccer games.
Yeah, it's easy, isn't it?
More than anything, I with him, I've got to kind of be really chill because he's this super laid back kid, but
he is
out there. He does not like losing, and so if it starts going the other way, he can get a little nasty.
A little fired up, huh?
He gets real fired up, and he's not real good at not fighting back. Sometimes in soccer that you'll coming down the field, the pitch or whatever, and the kid will kind of elbow you. If he thinks the elbow is intentional, that elbow he'll want to return said elbow.
Yeah.
You have to remind him, hey, the ref's going to see the second shot. He's not going to see the first one. You're going to get in bad trouble. And he got one kid at a game, I guess it was last year on his old team. It was kind of one of the last straws, I think, on his old team. Be careful here with what I say because there's no telling who's hearing it. But there were some kids on that team that were his teammates that were super soft. He just didn't like them. And
it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. Different strokes for different folks. And the kid on the other team was really kind of going after him. Elbows, forearms, stuff like that. And he he took the kid out with one of those slides that was kind of, sort of, quasi-legal, quasi-red cardish. Ish. And he got a yellow card, got severely warned. And probably not my greatest moment as a dad. I said, hey, do it again. Not my best moment. The referee was not particularly happy with my decision to tell him.
Gotta be careful on that stuff.
You should do that again. Yeah, he was mad.
You got to show respect. I also want to give a shout out here to Unconfirmed Source, who's also watching the stream at offrebelgrove.com, and good old Archie Who.
You do have a very good setup. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. As they say, I need a better lamp. I wasn't prepared for this. What it shows you is that we.
He wasn't.
No, not at all. Jay was like, "Hey, you want to do this thing?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" This is kind of like where things are going. You and I were talking about this. There was a day, right? Not that long ago, pre-SEC Network, I suppose.
Yeah.
When not covering a road game was not an option because if you didn't cover the game, you might not see it.
That's right.
Okay, so now that's not a deal anymore. So Ole Miss plays at Auburn this year. We don't know what time the game's going to be, but let's say for the sake of my discussion that it ends up being one of these crazy-ass 8 o'clock games. Ole Miss is going to have two objectives that night. One, to try to win the game. And two, and closely right thereafter, to get the hell out of Auburn as fast as possible. Nothing against Auburn, but because you want to get back, because Sunday you got to get started again on a new week and all that stuff, which means that the moment that game ends, whether it ends with Ole Miss losing by 14 points or whether it ends with Ole Miss kicking a field goal to upset Auburn on the last play of the game. However it ends, whatever scenario makes you happy, we'll just go with that scenario. They lose by 30, they win by 10, whatever. their sole focus is getting out of there, which means you have very little real media interaction.
Okay.
We're gonna get the head coach for 5 minutes. I'm gonna get a coordinator for a minute and a half. I'm gonna get one, maybe two players. It's going to be hurried. It's going to be a great big group of people. The video is going to be put up on YouTube and whatnot by different media outlets instantly. You really don't get a lot of bang for your buck from a travel standpoint. And in this scenario, I'm driving to Montgomery or Auburn or whatever. I'm spending a night. I've got to get up on Sunday. I've got to drive back to Oxford to do my work. I think more and more people are going to do these interactive game watching deals where you're interacting about the game. Here's what's happening. Here's what we saw. And then after the game, you're putting together some analysis that you were able to garner from watching television, from listening to post-game radio, from 2 or 3 texts with sources that you have inside the program immediately after the game. You know, a quarterback gets hurt. You have people on that staff that you could text and say, give me an update on Matt Corral, or give me an update on Nick's. What's his injury? You know, and a coach responds or whatever, or whoever it is. It's an ankle sprain. We'll look at it tomorrow, which is exactly what they just told the media 2 minutes ago. And that's all out on Twitter too. So I guess what I'm saying is that the days of like covering a game because it gives you access that you would not normally have, the level of access that you get is really, you can sometimes get more off television than you can covering it live.
Yeah, content-wise for sure. And I'm thinking about Ole Miss when we go over to Ole Miss, which we did this year. We do the interviews. It's in the corner across from the Grove, and there's like no lights in there. So if it's a night game, I mean, it's like doing it in almost like an abandoned rail yard. There's like 2 sodium lights and nothing else. And
well, you
can't hardly get video.
You think about the setup at LSU on the road.
Oh my word, that's worse.
It's horrible.
That's worse.
It's horrible. And so, you know, and it's loud, and it's like this year I went to LSU this year, and it was one of those 8:00 games. It didn't kick till 8:20, and I'm walking back to my car at 1:15 in the morning in Baton Rouge in the rain, and I remember thinking, this is stupid.
Where were you staying?
In Baton Rouge.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I have a rule that I don't drive after 2. So
yeah, I drove. Was it 2016 maybe, or 2014? I don't know. 2016, I think. I don't know. I drove back from Baton Rouge at the game was at night. I left at it was 2014. I left at midnight, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and drove all the way back to Oxford. And that was, you think back on it, it's pretty stupid.
That's stupid. That's a really bad idea, Neil.
Driven back from Vanderbilt games at night, where once you get to like Jackson, Tennessee, the roads aren't quite as good, and it's stupid. It's just dumb. So my point was that I got up. So I got up in Baton Rouge the next day I went to bed at 3 in the morning. I got up at 8. I got stuff together. I got back to Oxford at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon with a ton of work to do. And I sat down and thought about what did I get for my expenses in Baton Rouge. I got 5 minutes of Matt Luke. I got a minute and a half of a coordinator. The other coordinator didn't show up. The offensive coordinator declined to speak to us. And I think I talked to 2 players who gave me cliches. And I thought, why did I do that? What was in it from a coverage standpoint? What did my subscribers get that they wouldn't have gotten had I not gone to the game? And the answer was not much.
Not much. That's just the reality of it. So, yeah, we'll do some streaming now, and you'll work on your set, and you'll be better.
Yeah, well, this is absolutely going to push me to do that.
It'd be my pleasure to give you some guidance because I got I kind of know what I'm doing here with the lights and then this, and I've also got a backdrop. Of course, the bunker always has a guy. I've got a guy who does backdrops. Seriously, that's like what he does for a living. He does graphics, and he's actually got one being made, and I'll probably have it for the next show behind me. So that'll be good.
What will I do with my backdrop?
I'm not. Is that where the Bears play?
No, it's where the Cubs play. That's a fact of Game 3 of the World Series in 2016, which was the game that I attended. I was at.
No recollection of that.
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to baseball. It's boring.
Listen. Trade in baseball today, by the way.
Did Bryce find a house?
No, JT Realmuto traded from Florida to where did he go? Philadelphia.
Oh.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, very. All right, so I mentioned on the show last week before we get started on the show that my therapist basically told me to kick rocks and that she didn't want to see me anymore because there really wasn't anything to talk about. So I guess Neil's going to be my de facto therapist now.
Okay, I'm ready.
I need a little bit of guidance.
Okay.
So this gal that I went to college with, her name was Laura. She passed away last week. She'd been sick for a while, and she passed away at the age of 46, whatever. And I had not really talked to her outside of Facebook since we were in college. But when we were in college, I really liked her, and I thought she was a real special one. Not romantically. She's definitely not the one who got away. I don't have one like that because I was dating Courtney when I was 19, 19. But anyway, just a girl I liked and hung out with, and she was in a rival sorority from Courtney's and all that, blah, blah, blah. But she was this really sharp chick, super, like, assassin type attitude. Like, she would just melt faces and not even smile or anything. I love people like that. And anyway, I just really liked her. And we would talk on Facebook every now and then, but she became a doctor. She became an oncologist down in Texas, and she's living her life, living her best life, whatever.
Okay.
But I am really bothered by her dying. Even though I didn't talk to her very often, I just felt like she was somebody, she's a superstar down there where she was doing her thing. And I'd always kind of in my head thought, I'll hang out with Laura again one of these days and that'll be fun. Again, not romantic at all, just somebody I really liked talking to. And she was a very interesting person. And she's gone now. And I'm like, all right, should I have been more open about how cool I thought she was? Or that would have come across as weird, though, because it's not like I'm trying to get hooked up with her, nor is she interested in being hooked up with me. It's not that. I don't know if anybody can ever really get around that. Like, could you talk to a friend who's a girl and just say something like that out of the blue, or would it be taken really oddly?
It probably would be taken fairly oddly unless you put a lot of
preface on it, I guess.
To it, where you said so. I'm saying this as a friend and all that, which is difficult because there's always what was that movie When Harry Met Sally? There's a certain degree of truth to that.
What, the guys and girls can't be friends or whatever?
That they can be friends, but that there is always, at least initially at times, there's always like a little bit of tension, don't you think? Or do you disagree with that? Can you be like really, really tight, super tight? See, here's the thing. So if you had a female friend that you were really good friends with,
okay, I'm thinking of a few, yeah.
Courtney's not really crazy about that idea.
Well, yeah, the only girls that I'm friends with like that are like her friends.
Right.
So she doesn't mind that at all.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I know. I was going to pull her up on here so you could see her. I don't know why it matters, but.
How old was she?
Our age. 46.
Yeah, that's a shame.
And she never had, she was never able to get life insurance because she had lupus. She was,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, when she was, early 20s. And so, they're doing a GoFundMe for her family because she didn't have any insurance. She couldn't get life insurance.
Here's something nice you could do. Maybe make you feel a little better. You could, because of your social media presence and because of your popularity with a lot of people in different walks of life, you could put a link to her GoFundMe on, she was in Austin, Texas. You could put 45 years old. It's a shame.
Yeah.
You could put a link to the GoFundMe that her family has up. And I would imagine that a lot of people who subscribe to your site, who subscribe to my site, who listen to this podcast would, even if it was just giving $10 to the GoFundMe, kind of as a show of support to you, and that would be your way of sort of expressing your affection for her in a non-threatening at all way.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. I don't want anybody to feel like they got to. I mean, I did, but
I
knew her and they don't. So
yeah, but it's sometimes people do things out of support for their friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I've given to GoFundMe's or charities or whatever just because it meant something to a friend. It didn't necessarily, I mean, obviously I didn't know Laura McFarling Beatty, but I do now. I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
Sort
She's
of.
cool. Really cool when she leaves behind 2 kids and stuff. I mean, look,
well,
if you live long enough, you're going to see bad things happen. I'm not trying to get into that.
Here's the therapy part. I mean, we're getting to that age where we're all getting to that age where we're not too far from being the oldest generation.
Yeah, I guess you're about right.
And you start to that's pretty sobering. I mean,
yeah, I never thought that it would be like that. But I don't look at the world any differently than I did when I was 20. You can probably tell that on the show.
No, I don't either.
I mean, there's every reason to believe I'm going to be 65 years old someday and thinking the same way that I do right now. You look older, but you're not actually older inside. It's weird.
I don't think if anything, I feel younger today than I felt 10 years ago.
Yeah, I probably do too, but I don't know if you and I are normal that way.
I don't know. I can honestly say that I don't spend a lot of time thinking about, because I think if you start thinking about stuff like this, you lose the ability to have any real happiness, right? I mean, if you start thinking to yourself, okay, I'm 49 years old, the odds are overwhelming that I have lived more than half of my life. I mean, unless I live to be 99, which is not realistic, I've lived more than half of my life. If you start thinking like that, you become a fatalist. And these people that are fatalists, and I'm not criticizing them, but I don't know how they function every day. So they're scared to do this, they're scared to do that, because what happens, and it's kind of like Andrew Whitworth, who's from, I always followed his career. He's from West Monroe, and he went to LSU, and he just played in the Super Bowl for the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
And after the game, they were asking him, how disappointing is this? Is maybe your one and only shot at the Super Bowl? And his answer was, hey, look, we're all going to die one day. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's true. I mean, some of the stuff that we worry about, it just it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm much better about that than I used to be. I used to be horrible about it, and now I'm maybe too far the other way, to where I don't stress out about like the other day. It was the other day. It was more than a couple months ago when you were all stressed out about not breaking the offensive coordinator story at Auburn. It was kind of like, hey man, this is not going to matter in a week. It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter in an hour, in fact. And I get more and more that way. Like if someone breaks a story on the Ole Miss beat that I didn't break, I know I should be more competitive about it, but I'm like, whatever.
You have changed so much in that way. I've known you pretty much this whole time.
Well, when I was in Mobile, I mean, I wouldn't sleep. I mean, I'd stay up. I was intense about breaking stories, and I wanted to be first on whatever, like that Chris Porter stuff, man. I mean, I didn't sleep for weeks.
I remember.
I mean, and now I'm whatever. It just doesn't matter.
It kind of made you a difficult person to hang out with too, because you were so obsessed with that stuff.
Yeah, and I probably frustrate like Chase and people that I work with now, because I don't really care. It'd be all right. We'll get to it.
Okay. Thank you for the therapy lesson there, sir.
You're welcome.
I am thinking about Laura more than I would have expected, but anyway.
You could write a song.
Think of Laura?
Yeah.
You had that ready because you're married to a Laura.
I am.
I sure like hanging out with that Laura too.
I know you do. You kind of have a thing for her.
You talking about your wife?
Yeah.
I do. She's
almost uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, I do like her. She's pretty cool. She's a pretty cool girl.
Yeah.
Let's say before the show gets started, I do want to mention that I am really disappointed in Kevin Durant, who is a guy. I know you have a long relationship fan-wise with Kevin Durant. I don't. I've always just kind of liked him in passing. I know he went to the Warriors, and everybody thinks that's kind of cheapening his brand, by going and kind of getting stacked with Steph Curry and Clay and Draymond Green or whatever. And whatever you think about that, he always seemed like a pretty good guy to me. But man, this little rant he went on, I guess it was yesterday or today, about I'm not going to talk to the media because y'all are going to ask me about free agency, and you keep making this a big spectacle, and all I want to do is go play. Shut up. He's paid an obscene amount of money. If you don't want to answer questions, if you just tell those guys, look, I'm going to make one statement about the free agency thing, and I ask you kindly, let's drop it. Okay, if you guys want to ask me once a month, that's fine. You can work with reporters like that. And I was surprised because in the press conference, you could tell one of the reporters was like, Kevin, we haven't been bothering you about that. We know what it's like for you guys, and we have not been barraging you with questions.
And you understand for background why it suddenly became a topic again, right?
Right, because the Knicks traded away Porzingis, creating a massive amount of money that they have. They can get 2 max guys now, right?
It created 2 max salary spots, and it led to sourced, unnamed sources. And when people go, well, I hate unnamed sources, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. I mean, look, if people like Adrian Wojnarowski are citing unnamed sources, they're talking to people high up in the Knicks organization. And when they tell you that it was done to create the space to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, well, it was done to create the space for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Does that mean that the Knicks are going to get Kevin Durant and or Kyrie Irving? Of course not. But it's worth noting that the Knicks and Kevin Durant have been linked for more than a year now. And so Durant, ever since the Porzingis trade, has refused to talk to the media, which becomes newsworthy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors are the 2-time defending champ. They're the favorites to win it again. Kevin Durant got into a fight with his own teammate earlier in the year about free agency. You can see him say on the bench, "This is why I'm out. This is why I'm out." Draymond Green basically admits that the source of the fight was the belief that Kevin Durant's checked out of the Warriors, and the speculation is that Kevin Durant is going to New York. His agent, Rich Kleiman, is a big Knicks fan. The rumor is that Kleiman's going to get a job in the Knicks organization.
Oh, wow.
I mean, people are not making it up, Jay. And so, of course, Kevin Durant's going to be asked about it. And here's what's frustrating as someone who has followed Kevin Durant all these years is that you would think you would learn a little bit. And someone who's followed the NBA and follows sports, all Kevin Durant has to say is, guys, respectfully, I'm going to talk about my team. I'm not going to talk about other teams unless we're talking about basketball. My thoughts right now are focused on the Warriors. My thoughts right now are on winning basketball games, winning another title. I will deal with free agency when it is appropriate for me to deal with free agency, and I will talk about free agency when it is appropriate for me to talk about free agency. I understand why you're asking the question. I hope that you respect my stance on this. I'm not going to talk about my future beyond this season. And my goal this season is to win another title with the Golden State Warriors. Now, is that a bullshit answer? Of course. Is it cliche? Of course. Is it going to stand? Absolutely. Now, this is where he's frustrated. Is it going to be dissected? Yes. It absolutely is going to be dissected. So if he doesn't want it to be dissected, I mean, I guess he could say, I'm not leaving. I've left a total of $15 million on the table the last 2 years so that my franchise could sign Sean Livingston, could sign Andre Iguodala. We could keep this core together. I've proven my commitment to the Warriors, and my expectation is that I will stay with Golden State after this season. Now, that's going to be dissected, and then if he ends up leaving and going to the Knicks or the Nets or the Clippers or the Lakers or whoever, is he going to get criticized? Yeah, but Kevin Durant's been criticized no matter what he does.
Sure.
It's my theory with Kevin Durant is very simple. I think Ethan Strauss, who covers the Warriors out there in the Bay Area,
He called him out directly.
He called him out directly because I think Ethan Strauss's story recently, which said that Kevin Durant has been basically seething for the better part of 2 years because he thought, and why he thought this, I'll never know. He thought when he went out to Golden State and won a title, and he beat LeBron to get the title, he thought that he would be crowned by everyone, peers, media, fans, everyone, as the best player in the game. And instead, what happened is he got criticized for ring chasing. LeBron got all of the credit for playing his ass off and making that series more competitive than it should have been. And his teammate, Steph Curry, remains far and away the most popular member of the Warriors franchise and always will be. There's nothing Kevin Durant can do to become more popular than Steph Curry.
He should have known that going in.
And he should have known all of that stuff going in, which is my theory is, yeah, he's gotten a couple of rings, but people don't even talk about him as the second best player anymore. Now people talk about, what is it? Is it Giannis Antetokounmpo? Is it James Harden? Who is it? Who's the next best player? And they mention all these guys before they get to Kevin Durant.
It's got to melt his brain, man.
It's got to absolutely drive him crazy.
Yeah.
And his foil in Oklahoma City all those years was Russell Westbrook. And the knock on Westbrook was what? That Westbrook you couldn't play with him. He was a bad dude, couldn't play with him. The very next season, Russell Westbrook wins the MVP award. He gets the max offer in Oklahoma City. He's the most popular player on that franchise. He's one of the most marketable players in the game today. And he convinced Paul George to stay, and Paul George stayed, saying how much he enjoys playing with Russell Westbrook. I think it's completely changed the narrative, the Westbrook-Durant thing, and I think it's driven Kevin Durant absolutely nuts.
And he's mad at Ethan Strauss because he wrote that?
He's mad at Ethan Strauss because he wrote the truth. I mean, you cover people, Jay. I mean, look, I'm not going to name names, but I cover people at Ole Miss that don't like me, and it's primarily because I'm willing to tell the truth. It's not that it's not that it's personal. Houston Nutt didn't like me, and he didn't know me. We didn't know each other on a personal level whatsoever. There are people that you cover at Auburn or have covered at Auburn who don't like you, who do not know you on a personal level whatsoever.
That's true.
They don't like you. Why? Do you have an agenda to get Auburn? Of course not. Do I have an agenda to get Ole Miss? Of course not. But when if you cover something and you think it's fairly or objectively, it all depends on what their prism of objective is.
Yeah.
And so if they view your objectivity as negative and they view you as negative and you view your objectivity as objective, well, there's a conflict there.
Yeah, you just got to talk it out, though, man. Some coaches will do that. I mean, Gus is not the best ever at that, but.
Oh, I mean, I've covered coaches that don't talk it out. They can't talk it out. In fact, the majority of people that I've covered can't talk it out.
Yeah, Bruce Pearl can.
Yeah, Pearl's Matt Luke can. Matt Luke's great. One of the best. I'll be honest with you. The people that I've covered in my career who are the most stand up, really like them people. Hal Baird, far and away. God, what a great dude.
Yeah, Hal Baird. So principled, man.
He is a principled guy,
yes,
but he was always fair. And if he didn't like something you said, he came or wrote, he came to you and said, "Explain to me why you wrote this."
Yeah, and it wouldn't be in a mean way. It would just be like curious. I really am curious.
It was his way of saying, "I know I'm missing something," because it happened with me once with something I wrote. Explain to me why you wrote this. I can't remember what it was about, and I wrote it, and I told him, "Well, here's what I was thinking," and he goes, "Oh, okay." I see that now. Can I tell you why I don't think that's right? And I said, sure. And he did. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I see why you would think that. And it was perfectly fine because most of the people that read the story in the Mobile Register had no idea that it led to angst. And it was quickly handled. He's that way. Kennedy could hold a grudge. Tuberville was that way. Tuberville would front you with something, and he would get a little nasty about it, but he was cool, and Luke's that way. Luke has said, and I think he actually means it. I know that you have a job. I know that your job is to report. I get it. I don't have a problem with that, and basically, if he ever did, he would come to me and say, why did you write that, or why did you say that, or and have a conversation about it before it turns into World War VII. And some of these coaches, they just don't do that. There's an expectation that you are to be a certain way, and the first time you're not that way, you just kind of become not enemies, but it just becomes adversarial.
Yeah. I've had it happen. You know, man, he dog cussed me more than my dad ever did. Former Auburn offensive line coach. He was at Ole Miss before in the 90s.
He got mad at me, man. Oh,
I mean, I deserved it when I got it.
Looking back, I did too. But when I tried to kind of apologize for it and make up for it, there was no going back.
No, I was able to get it straightened out. But he gave me a good 20 or 30-minute tongue lashing. And he called me a lot of words that I don't think I've been called since. Maybe on the message board, but that didn't count. He was calling this to my face. And I kind of like him now. I mean, we're not like BFF, but I can call him and ask him stuff. And it was that way when he was at Auburn after that. But I wrote something that I wouldn't write, though, because I wrote a column about how they quit in the 01 Iron Bowl. Yeah. And even if that's true, and I believe it's true, I wouldn't write that column, though. Not now. Because I don't know. I mean, you can't be in their heads to know if they quit.
I don't like that word. It's one of those words. There's several words that I don't like to put in print. Never, always. I don't like absolutes, and I don't like the word quit, because you're at that point when you say this team quit, you're claiming that you have the ability to get inside their thoughts.
Yeah, I have an old sports writer friend of mine likes to use the phrase "spit the bit" instead of "quit." You can probably guess who that is.
Philip?
Yeah, Philip likes to say "spit the bit." It's a good little term, a little idiom, American idiom. Hey, spit the bit. Yeah,
that is a good little term.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of got a little country twang to it, which plays over here. Probably plays in Ole Miss too.
Probably.
But yeah, I would never write a column about anybody quitting anymore, unless it was a job. But I mean, as a team in a game, I still kind of look back and think, yeah, I shouldn't have written that way. I mean, you could say the same thing without saying quit. You could still write a provocative column.
I wrote that they.
Yes, remind me of the column you wrote 17 years ago, Neil.
It was a high-low deal. They did a high-low block on one of the LSU defensive linemen, and I said it was a cheap shot.
Glenn Dorsey?
For some reason, I think it was before Dorsey.
Cheap shot's a tough one, too.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that again.
Yeah, he was probably not happy about that one, was he? He got after your ass, didn't he?
He got after and I deserved it. And I told him I deserved it. But he was legitimately pissed.
I don't take many tongue lashings anymore. Maybe it's just because it's changed a little bit, the dynamic has, but
yeah, no, I don't take them either. I mean, what I deal with over here, not to get in, I don't want to go down this road really. What I deal with over here is there's just an interesting media dynamic that's here. That's what has been considered for a long time mainstream and objective and fair is essentially a very friendly media outlet, and so anybody that covers it differently than that at times, there's a temptation to view it as negative, and so I get some of that. I mean, I think there are a handful of people that and it's a very small handful, but I think they are legitimately bothered by the reality that it doesn't matter to me.
Well, we're moving toward a world where it's going to be more homery. I mean, we're just being real about it.
No, I think you're right. I think you see more and more of that. And so, you know, I mean, I've had people go, "You're old school." And I'm like, God, I'm only 49 years old. I mean, I don't know how old school I am. I don't know. Here's where I'm from on this deal, and we'll wrap this part of it up before we get started with the show. Like I read a lot of stuff about the Cubs.
Do you really?
Yeah, and the people that cover the Cubs, Sahadev Sharma, Jesse Rogers, I don't care if they cheer for the Cubs or not. I couldn't care less. I mean, I just don't care. I mean, it doesn't matter to me at all. I read some Thunder stuff, you know, and I don't care if those people are for the Thunder or against the Thunder or at all. None.
Well, we're getting to a world where they're going to be for or neutral. You're not going to have the negative Nancys anymore. I just because the newspaper situation is going away, and not New York Times level, not USA Today level, but just local. I mean, look at AL.com over here. I mean, you worked for one of those newspapers, the Mobile Press Register and the Birmingham News, and the Huntsville Times, those papers ruled this state for decades. And now, it's just kind of not that way.
No, it's not that way anymore at all.
It's coming this way. It's coming toward us, I think, because we cater the news a little bit more toward what folks are willing to pay for. Thank goodness. Shout out to all the auburnsports.com subscribers who I love.
Amen. They love me too.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm still kind of working on you with them. Yeah, trying to build some bridges there.
Still upset about prayer circles?
They're upset about prayer circles. Yeah, they felt like that was a shot directly at Auburn, and I've heard both sides of the issue, and I don't really want to have an opinion on it.
No, and really, it's more of a prayer oval. Usually, it's very rarely a prayer circle.
I get where you're coming from. It's kind of like what you're saying with Hal Baird. Like, I understand where you're coming from on that. Although they took it as a uniquely Auburn shot, and I don't think you were trying to do that.
Oh no, I'm against it in general. I'm against using that as a recruiting tool. I didn't like when Freeze would do it.
But it's not a recruiting tool. Like, they're praying before the game.
I know.
Like praying for safety and health and a good competitive game.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I told them, but they're not feeling it.
I have no problem with it at all.
They love a villain. The bunker loves a villain, Neil, and you're a good villain.
I'll tell you who's not a villain is the fine people at Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust,
absolutely,
based in Madison, Mississippi. They represent clients in 24 states. They have advisors in 3, including both of the states that we are in right now, Jay. Founded in 1997, Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much, much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity, and decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. Regardless of your level of wealth, Jay, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie cutter planners, Jay, they don't do that. They do not. Pinnacle Trust does. They build a box just for you and decorate it with pictures of soccer moms from all over the greater Enterprise, Alabama area. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the greatest pod in the South, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee. We're also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. So here's how this works. John is based in Memphis, but you do not have to live anywhere near Memphis to take advantage of his services. You give him a call and you say, hey, John, here's what I'm kind of thinking about. I'm thinking about a summer trip, whether it's to Florida, a cruise to the Caribbean. Maybe you're going to Scotland or Ireland to play golf, that big golf trip you've always talked about. Maybe you're going to Ireland. Maybe you're going to Napa, whatever it may be. Get in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. You give him some parameters, give him a budget, and he'll give you options that you would not find on your own. 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the greatest pod in the South.
And who doesn't love travel, Neil? I mean, I love traveling. I travel every summer.
Absolutely.
I tried to get you and your lovely wife to go.
On the swingers cruise?
Would you stop with that, dude?
Yeah.
No, I was just trying to go on our little junket trip down to points in the Caribbean, and not going to happen this year, it doesn't sound like.
Yeah, we're having one of those. It's going to be one of those years, man. We got.
Yeah. Please elaborate.
Campbell's going off to college.
Saw Campbell. Picture on the Facebook of her going. She went to like a dance a couple weeks ago, maybe.
She went to, on Saturday. This past Saturday night. She did. She was a little worried that her outfit, her dress, I should say, was a little risque.
It did seem a little risque. And I was going to ask you. I didn't. You got to toe this line very carefully, but.
Yeah.
I mean, was the father and you kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that, or
a little, but it didn't show anything.
No, it didn't.
It didn't. It left things to the imagination, and I understand that she is a soon-to-be 18-year-old young woman, and she's going to college, and I'm not naive enough to think that boys don't look at her in that regard, and she's proven to be a good decision maker to this point, and she's going to go through some of the same adolescence things that we went through, and
she's worked very hard to lose weight and get very, very fit, and good
yeah, and she's she's lost, I don't know, 50, 60 pounds, and she's super fit, and she looks great, and she's very disciplined about what she eats, and she exercises, and she does yoga and Pilates, and she runs, and she does all that stuff. And quite frankly, if I looked like her, I'd probably dress like that too. So, I mean,
God help us.
yeah, no doubt. So I don't know. I was okay with it. It was cool. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, for whatever reason, man, that's never been like my big thing. Like, you and I have talked about this before. I think it's like my little parenting thing. One of the things that I really hate is when people say, "Man, I just hate to see them grow up."
Yeah, it's a little creepy when you think about what you're actually saying, right?
I always say, well, the alternative to them not growing up is so unimaginable that nope, I'm good with them growing up.
But it is, my daughter in particular, I don't think your daughter's this way, or your oldest daughter, but my daughter went from a pretty sweet little girl to a little mouthy wench pretty quickly. And we really wanted her to be an assertive young lady, and we did a great job with that. She's super assertive to the point where I'm not really daddy anymore. I'm just an authority figure that needs to be undermined and mocked, and I get a little bit tired of it. But the good news is that when she goes to her friend's house, the parents are always like, "Oh my gosh, Maddie's so nice. Gosh, I don't know, you guys did a great job." I'm like, "Yeah, well, thanks, thank you."
Yeah. The good news is, I think I've had a lot of people tell me this, that they get that way their senior year, and it's kind of like it's a subtle way of them sort of preparing you for them leaving.
Oh.
And that it's and that they're not too far from a different phase where they realize, man, I had it pretty good at home, and my parents aren't as idiotic as I thought they were, and they the stuff that they said would happen, it happened. And maybe I should listen to them more, and then the relationship changes in a different sort of way. So that's probably true. I think it's just phases. And whatever. I mean, I doubt if I was just a barrel of fun at home when I was a senior in high school.
Nah, I doubt you were, Neil. I doubt you were. I kind of have these, I don't know, I dream about it sometimes, not like when I'm asleep, when I'm awake, when my daughter's just being a wench and just being really nasty toward me. I'm like, there's going to be a day. There's going to be a day. And you alluded to this just moments ago, that she's going to be like, man, my mom and dad did a pretty decent job putting up with my shit and being pretty cool and not knocking me out. She'll come home someday and say, Dad, I just want you to know, I appreciate what you did for me. And I'm just going to be doing like that gif you guys see on the bunker all the time, where you like spending Antonio Banderas in front of the computers. Like,
I had this weird dream last night.
Oh.
I was driving my truck.
This was your actual dream?
Swear, and I had it repeatedly. I had the same dream like 3 times.
This means you're going to die.
Well,
you have the same dream over and over again. It's bad.
We're all going to die. This was mine. I was driving, and it was like I was in this. It was real hilly, mountainous. There was water. There was like this big bridge, and then a lot of water and mountains. And for whatever reason, all 3 times, I got out of the truck and like ran along this cliff while the truck kept going. And I would go catch the truck on the other side of like the cliff and get back in.
Seems like a bad idea.
Except for the last time that I went to do that, I couldn't get through the river thing. And I kept having to hang on to this tree. And I woke up kind of like freaked out, but I was freaked out about how to get back to the truck, because this was the first time that when I went to look for the truck, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you this as someone who has 2 degrees in psychology.
Okay.
What this means is that you should go to the Caribbean with me this summer and let me hang out with your wife, and you can do whatever else you need to do.
Yes,
That's how I interpret it.
that is fascinating. That is fascinating.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You probably didn't see that interpretation coming, but that's why I went to school all those years, Neil.
I didn't see that. You know, there's a reason that the people talk about Transylvania as
Oh, a bastion.
the Ivy League of the Kentuckys.
The Kentuckys. Yeah. Of the upper Appalachians. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Neil, we put in a good show here.
Oh, have we started?
Yeah, about an hour and 6 minutes into our pre-show.
Is that right? Yeah.
God,
well,
so many things we didn't get to.
I know.
I want to talk about National Signing Day in a little bit more depth.
Yeah,
about Drew McGarry.
I have a feeling a lot of people would like for us to talk about signing day in a little more depth. And
I mean, we did a whole show about it at our site, and you did too. I mean,
well, people want, you know what it is? We'll wrap with this in all seriousness. People want you to say the numbers that you hear. Like, why can't you say the numbers that you hear? It's because I don't.
The numbers that you hear? You talking about the money?
Yeah, the money.
Oh, golly.
I don't know how great I feel about that. I mean,
yeah.
What if it's just gossip, and what if it's way overinflated from what it really is?
Yeah, how are we going to confirm that?
There's no way to confirm it, and so I'm not comfortable with doing that, and I'm certainly not comfortable with naming schools or naming kids or any of that stuff. But man, I mean, the rumors are like crazy, and they're out there. And do I think there's validity to it? Here's always been my theory on stuff like this. Is it all true? Of course not. Is it all false? Of course not. So some of it, and is it exaggerated? Probably. Is the truth somewhere in the middle? Probably. But man, I will finish with this, and this gives something to talk about next week. Maybe Gabe will be with us.
Maybe.
I do think more and more and more the amateur, whatever. Amateur model, yeah, I think it's flawed. I think it's severely outdated. I think the kids are onto it, and now that the transfer portal is so big, kids are wanting to get whatever they're going to get up front, and it's the days of, for the longest time you would hear people say, "Well, we don't cheat. We don't buy players. We take care of them when they get to campus." And that could mean any number of things. It could mean a stipend. It could mean
a car,
a little extra here and there. It could mean a car. It could mean that on Sunday after a game, when you get back from the team meeting, your refrigerator and your pantry is stocked. It could mean all of those things. And I still think it probably does mean those things, and I'm in the minority that thinks it should mean those things. I'm cool with that. I have no problem with the kid getting a little help with his groceries.
That doesn't bother me either.
Doesn't bother me at all. It's not a competitive advantage, whatever. But I think as the kids have wised up, they say, what's in it for me? And it's not really the kid, it's the people around the kid. What's in it for me? And I need to get it now. Let me get it now. I don't want the promise of something later, because if we end up not being happy here in a year and we transfer to state XU, we want to get it now. And so I think that's changed. From what I can gather, it has changed the marketplace. And I don't
up that price.
It's driving that price up, and I think it's probably making people uncomfortable. And I think we're closer today to a legitimate conversation among the Power Fives of breaking away and forming their own set of rules than we've ever been before.
I agree completely. And I was a very late adopter or adoptee or whatever the word is for hating the NCAA. I mean, Ron Polk was so far ahead of me on this. He was decades ahead of me. And I used to think that guy was kind of a crackpot. But dude is right on the money. NCAA are a bunch of bandits. They do bad things. They rule randomly, and they hurt people randomly. And I am completely and totally done with the NCAA from top to bottom. I have no respect for that organization anymore. And it wasn't really one thing that happened. I mean, the thing with the Kansas kid is what did it for me.
D'Souza, yeah, that was awful.
Yes.
It's awful.
But it's a cumulative thing. I mean, Ennis Canner at Kentucky years ago ruled him ineligible for dumb stuff. It's just, oh my God. It makes me so angry. So we'll get into that next week.
Okay.
Yeah, I get real fired up about that because
I'm pleased to hear that you've come over to this side.
You and Chase have swayed me over, huh?
Welcome. I've been here for a long time, man.
I know you have.
People think it's the Ole Miss stuff, and that's part of it because I saw how the second part of their investigation was conducted. It was just criminally wrong. The first part was fine. I mean, they did some stuff. They got caught, and there was academic fraud, and there's no place for academic fraud. You can't have people taking people's ACT test and stuff like that. I mean, that can't happen, and when it does, that has to be punished. But there was stuff that happened in that investigation, and then you see the way that the Sousa thing happened, and the deal at Missouri, and it goes on, and it's just I think it's a corrupt organization, and I don't find it to be a trustworthy
Me too.
group at all. And I think there's more and more people inside intercollegiate athletics who used to be true believers who are not anymore. And as that demographic grows, I think sea change draws closer.
Yep, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it is. So we'll talk about that next week. We promise we'll get to it. Do us a favor. If your favorite restaurant or bar or package store doesn't have cat head products, ask them to order them for you. They'll get it. You'll love it. You should know that a portion of the proceeds from sales in each market goes to helping local arts and music foundations. It's Cat Head Vodka, Cat Head Honeysuckle Vodka, Cat Head Pecan Vodka, Bristow Gin, Hoodoo Chicory Liqueur, Old Soul Bourbon, catheaddistillery.com, catheadvodka.com. Check them out on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Go to their gift shop on the site. They have some really cool stuff, and check it out. You'll love it. And tell them that you heard about it here on the greatest pod in the South. For J.G. Tate, I'm Neil McCready. That does it for this edition of the greatest pod in the South. We'll be back with you next week. Until then, take care. Have a great weekend.
All right, man. That was an hour and 6 minutes, something like that, 7 minutes.
Yeah, it was good.
That was a pretty long one. I wasn't sure how to broach the. I didn't want to be weird about Campbell. I mean, Maddie was like, "Dude, you see that picture?" I was like, "No." She's like, well, "Check this out." I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?"
Yeah, she was like, "What do you think?" I'm like, well, yeah. Well,
what did your mom say?
Laura was like, "I guess if I could look like that, I'd wear that too."
Laura can look like that right now. It's too bad you won't go to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
All
right, so that was our first stream. It's in the books.
Yeah, it was good.
Hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did. I got to get better lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff's inexpensive. It's not a money thing.
We'll just have to. I'm thinking about coming next week for Auburn Ole Miss.
Of course, that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I do, I'd love to see your setup.
Yeah, you just want to stay here?
I don't know. Maybe we'll see what the game's like and stuff. But we could tape a show or whatnot. But I'd love to see your. I'd love to kind of see your setup and get some ideas.
All right, word.
Okay.
See you, man. And goodbye to all of our friends on the stream. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Peace.